Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to finish up the left, leaving the menu system alone. I'm going to create a separate menu video just so that you can see the different ways that you can do it. And of course, a lot of these things that we'll be doing are available in WC3 Schools website that you can download and utilize. To me, it makes sense to utilize something that you know works. First of all, let me again comment that although this background here looks nice, it is tiled, so it isn't something that you would normally use. I just wanted to show you how you can do different things to make a different look over here. Again, there's no right way that's going to work every single time. You're going to have to use judgment on many, many things. So let's start off over here again, reviewing what we've done. We've created a header, which we haven't done anything. We have some stuff up top over here that really we don't need to worry about for right now. We have a menu. I put in a background color over here of a red that has an opacity of about 50%. That means it's going to show through, just so you can see how these different things are highlighted. And we have the menu with the items over here, and then we have content section over here. So let's look in the code. And you can see this is what we had over here. We have an H2 in here for our menu, and we have an unordered list. That is the normal way that you're going to do a menu system that goes down. So we have a section ID that we have left top and over here, and we have left over here. Now, you could change this if you don't like the left top over here. You could put left bottom. Again, the ID is something that needs to be descriptive. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this to left bottom, because it's really not the bottom. Actually, it's really not the top. So let's just call it left bottom. And nothing should change because we haven't done anything over here other than change the ID of it over here. Again, going back and looking in the IDs, you can rename the IDs if you're not satisfied with they are. The most important thing is you understand that they have to be unique in a file, and they should be descriptive. So that's why I changed it to bottom, because it's really not on the top over here. So what I'm going to do here, let's go back into live, and I'm going to change it to design. So we have content for new section in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type some text. First thing I want to do is get rid of this here. And I'm going to put in this is a header 2. This is a header 3. And this is a paragraph. So everything pretty much does the same thing here because we have actually all paragraphs. So let's go in and get rid of the C. I like to delete things in code view, so I'm sure I don't delete the tag itself. So right off the bat, we can see this is a paragraph tag that says it's a header 2. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change it from paragraph to heading 2. Then I'm going to change this from paragraph to heading 3. And then down over here, I'm going to put a second header 2 inside the nav. And right outside that. So you can get a little better feel of how the CSS can be used for exactly the way you want to do it. So we have paragraph, and let's go back into design view, and then live, and we can see. So none of these things are formatted. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a tag for the heading 2. Now notice this is already a header 2 and it's already taken it. So let's change this to header 3. And then when I'm going to format the header 3, you're going to see that this is going to change the header 3 itself, which this probably we want to make it a header 3. That takes care of that. Okay, so next I'm going to click on this nav, this H. Again, I like to do things in design view. It's just easier to select. Again, it's a matter of your choice, whatever you feel like doing. Header 2, header 3. So I'm going to click on this left bottom header 2. I'm going to bring over the CSS designer. I'm going to click on new selector. And we have left, left bottom 2. So I'm just going to get rid of this left bottom. Now, remember that if we left it at left, it's going to affect this as well. So I want you to be very specific on what you're doing. So we want something that's inside a tag left bottom and an H2. Hit the enter key and we'll just format it randomly. So I'm going to make the text white for lack of a better reason, which I do not have. And let's just go into live view and see what we have. So you can see that's white. Then I'm going to change it to center. And I'm going to make it underline. So you can see that affects only this header 2. Let's go back into design. And let's put a header 2 in here. Make it a header 2. Okay, notice that it had no effect from this one over here because this is being overridden by the nav left header 2. So that's important to understand. Now we have a header 3 over here. I'm going to do this header 3 down here, only I'm going to make a mistake on it. So this is a header 3. I'm going to add a selector, and I'm just going to make this left 3. And that's going to be a problem because it's going to affect this and this. So you can be where you want it to be that way, but maybe you don't. So be careful. So this is left 3. Nothing's happened over here. Let's make the text green. As soon as I hit the enter key, notice it affected this and this. The reason being because this is in left and this is in left. So let's change this back over here and make this a left bottom 3 rule. You can actually rename the rule. And we want left bottom. Now, as soon as we do this, it's going to change the one up top. So now it's no longer in the left bottom. So now we can format this the way we want it. We can center it. We can put something up top. And nothing gets changed in there. Do whatever you want. Make it up top here. You really can't see that too well, but now you can see the line through it over here. We can make the text bigger. So we'll do the font size, and let's just make it large. So you can see how that affects only this. Same thing with a paragraph. So let's click over here, and let's create a paragraph. We want it in left, left bottom. Left bottom's just fine. And we're going to make it without a margin. Right now, if you click on here, you're going to see some extra space. So let's just make the margin on the bottom 6. And I'll show you what that's going to do. So I'm going to hit the enter key here. And notice how it's still big. So you can change that to 0 until you decide what you want. Now, if it's on the bottom and it's not working, you might have to put it on the top. So let's put some 0 on the top as well. And that's what it was. So if we want it a little bit bigger, we can change this to 3. We can change it to 6. Again, you have to play with it to see what you want. So that's all we're going to do now on the left. Let me move this over the way. Let's go in and start doing things on the right. So let's go into code view. And we have in here the column on the right. The background is yellow. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the color of the background. We have an H2 tag over here, and we have a bunch of paragraph tags. So we really don't have anything exciting. So let's go in here, and let's click on the column right here. And let's change the background color, which is here, background color. Let's change it to white, and let's see what happens. By golly, nothing's happened. Actually, I think I changed the wrong one. Let's go back and click over here. If you don't add the selector, then it's not going to work. So let's add the selector. We have it in here, column container wrapper, right. Now, don't be confused. This is an ID of right, and it has a class of column. But when you're doing a class and an ID inside of CSS, it's the exact opposite. So let's just get rid of these things in here, and we'll leave that as such. And we'll change the background color to white. And let's see if it changes. By golly, it does not. The reason why it doesn't is because this is overriding it. So let's just change this to green. And you can do that. And notice it's green. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of that here. Just delete it. And we'll go back into live. So now it's white. So I always suggest that everything, all the background should be white. Now, granted, they're not white here. I did it to show you how things need to be. So I'm going to get rid of this header too, because you obviously would not want it. So I'm clicking on the header. I don't know if it's actually what I want. So what I always do is go into code view, and let's cut it from here. See what that looks like, and boom. And we may or may not want this header 3. I'll leave it in here for now, so you can see how these different things get formatted. So now we don't have anything that really looks all that good, but we'll format that later. Let's look at the column, and just to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to put a border on top here so you'll at least see some separation in here. So again, we're going to go into code view, and we have div class container, or you can add what's called a horizontal line. If you remember how to do it, you can just type in HR and here, and that should put in a horizontal line for you. So that way you can see that it's separated in there. Then you don't have to mess with the border. Again, it's your call. Very first thing we should do here is put some padding on the left and the right. Let's not worry about this gap up here right now. We'll take care of that. That's going to be margin and padding. That's already associated with the default for the browser or for whatever you're working in. So always remember that. Let's go in now and let's create a rule for the right column. We don't want the H2. We already have the selector set up. So let's go in here into margin and rather padding, and let's put 10 on the left and 10 on the right. And that looks a little bit nicer. If you need to put more, you can put more. Let's go back into code view now here. So we have column H over here. What I'm recommending at this point in time is putting in different divs. It's okay to leave the title over here. So let's change this to content area. And let's go in here and you can see. So let's just change the content area. We'll do a little bit of formatting on that. So we have right column H2. So we're going to create a new rule for that. Click on plus sign. And actually we'll leave that such to be consistent with this. We're going to make the text, and let's make the color blue, rather white. And let's do the background color. Now, I wanted to make it the same color as this. So I can go and look and see what it is, or I can use the eyedropper and just sample it. Then we're going to make it centered. And we're going to put a little bit of padding on the top and then the bottom. And we'll make it just a little bit bigger. So let's make the font size, let's make it 1.5 M. And so again, you might have to play with it, and then we can put a little bit of spacing between it. So let's put letter spacing. And let's put, and let's put 3. So that looks a little bit nicer. So again, it's just a matter of taste. Let's go back into code view, and let's add a div. So we'll click over here, get rid of all these hello worlds, and we're going to go to insert and let's see what's available. Well, we have a header, which we shouldn't use. We have navigation, which we shouldn't use. Okay, now we have main and aside and section and article. They're all the same thing. To me, this would make sense to use main because it's our main content in here. So again, we have main over here. Let's go over here. And then we should put all our main content inside of here. That allows us to format this differently without affecting it up top here. So I'm going to change it. Again, I emphasize this is not the hardcore way of always doing it. You have to adapt to what you're trying to do and use your own judgment as best as you can. So let's go in here and live, and you can see we have it over here. So now we can format these things differently. So let's just put a H2 tag here. And notice how it is affected by here. So let's override that. We'll create a new selector. So this is something that's in here. And let's make the text. We can make it white, or I'll actually make it bluish in here just so you can see it. And boom. Then we can change put this here. And notice we have a conflict in here. And I will address that in a minute. But notice we clearly have the color of the text here being kind of greenish, but it's not changing. The reason why it's not changing is because this is more what's called specific. And the more elements that you have describing something, the more specific it gets. So if we were to change this over here and put in the column content in here, then it would work. So let's go into our project and let's just change it. And I will address that in another video, but these are things that will help you understand when things do not work right. This is why. So we have 1, 2, 3, and there are different rules for how much each thing works. So this has 3 different rules. This has 2 different rules in here. So let's go in here and change it and add this here. And see what happens. Let's go into live. And guess what? It's kind of crazy. So I will address all of that in another video in here. But you can see that this is a class called container. It's a write. It's in here. Now notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to override everything. Again, that's not what this video is here for. So again, if we want to take this here and we want to make changes, we can make whatever changes that we want. Now notice everything's kind of disappeared in here. So let's go in and see what we have in code view. In here, RGB, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So we'll go in here and we'll address this in another video when I talk specifically about CSS and the different things in here. Okay, this is a P tag. So we can create a P tag rule that affects only P tags in here. So we can write main. There should be no problem over here. And let's just make it bold. And that does the trick over here. And so there's all kinds of different things that you can do. Let's go into code view now. And notice we have a column, class column. We have right over here. Then we have the content area. We have main in here. And then you may want something else in here. You could actually put a div inside of a div, or you can put a section in here. Again, there is no one way that's right all the time. The difference is it allows you to format these things differently. Normally, what I would do is I want one div wrapping everything up over here. Going into code view, we have div and we have class, and the ID is right. So we have a wrapper div here. Then we have this inside the wrapper div. Then we have one section, and then we have another section. You could have just as easily called this section because they do the same thing in there. So we're getting there. In our next video, we're going to start working on graphics, putting things in here, and we'll do some cleanup work. And so We can experiment with that. I encourage you to experiment. I will be posting the entire finalized CSS file and the finalized actual index file that you can use, or you can use your own. That's it for this video. Hope you have a great day.